and welcome to Autistic Changeling. Today, as of me filming this, is the last day of March, which means that coming up is April, which means that I'm going to do a crash course on how to do April if you're not autistic. So, April is usually considered Autism Awareness Month. Most autistics prefer Autistic Acceptance Month, not awareness, because awareness isn't enough. I did a video on this last year. I will link it in the description. A lot of people in April will do things that are well-meaning but misguided in an attempt to support the autistic community. And I appreciate that people want to support us, but I also would prefer if people support us in ways that are actually helpful, rather than contributing unintentionally towards harmful organizations and movements. So with that in mind, I'm going to provide just some basic information on what to say and what to not say, and what to avoid and what to look for this April, and every April, presumably. So, let's start with the very basics. Most autistic people, and for the record, before I continue, some of these things are things I've done other videos about, but I'm just going to do a very brief summary in this video so that it's all sort of in one place. Alright, with that in mind, the first thing is that most autistic people I've heard from and interacted with prefer identity-first language over person-first language. So autistic people or autistics is a better catch-all than people with autism, although some individual autistic people may prefer person-first language. From what I've seen in the community, autistic people is a much better catch-all term. A lot of autistic people find it frustrating when it's implied that autism is something separate from us. And a lot of the reasoning for person-first language comes from the idea that you need to remind yourself that we're people, which is also kind of So, in general, I would recommend using identity-first language. It's an identity, it's something you can't separate from us. So, point number one, autistic people, not people with autism. Point number two, please avoid functioning labels. So, there's no such thing as mild autism or severe autism or anything like that. You know, I don't have high functioning autism or low functioning autism. Functioning labels aren't meaningful. That doesn't mean there aren't distinctions and differences between autistic people, you know, but it's much better to just say what you mean. If you mean someone who's nonverbal, say that. If you mean someone who has a job, say that. Say what you actually mean instead of relying on broad functioning labels, which I think I've heard one person put it as, if they call you high functioning, they ignore your needs, and if they call you low functioning, they ignore your strengths. So no matter who you're applying them to, they end up overlooking the full picture. They often end up being used to stereotype people, and the way they usually get applied ends up just being harmful and also inaccurate and reductive. Not everything about a person is visible on first glance, especially with an invisible disability like being autistic, and trying to make assumptions based on one or two interactions and using that to assume how well someone is able to function in different parts of their life is maybe not a great idea. So point number two, avoid functioning labels, just say what you actually mean. Alright, point number three, please be careful when you're going to call someone an inspiration. There's a great TED Talk by Stella that I'm going to try to link in the description here, describing what's colloquially known as inspiration porn. It does not have to do with actual porn. It's kind of like the phrase food porn, that's also not really porn. It's basically where someone who's disabled does something relatively average. They're just living out their daily life, or they're just doing what they have to do to get by. And it's considered inspirational because of ableism, basically. I can't explain it as well as Stella does, so I would highly recommend just watching her video. But the short version is just be careful when you're going to call someone an inspiration, especially if that person is disabled. It's possible for someone who is disabled to genuinely be an inspiration to you for things that they have done, and that's fine. But don't call someone inspirational for just living their daily life, and also please don't call neurotypical people inspirational for putting up with us, because that's also kind of demeaning and condescending. So point number 3, be careful how you use the word an inspiration or inspirational. Point number 4, please believe us when we tell you that we're autistic. Don't go, well, you don't act like my 3-year-old autistic hairdresser's nephew's boyfriend's cousin's child. You know, not all autistic people are going to be like that one autistic 3-year-old, you know, and that's because, shockingly, autistic adults are different from autistic children. We don't just magically freeze at childhood our entire lives. We grow and develop like everybody else. And therefore, we're gonna be different than that one autistic kid you know. And if you haven't been involved in the diagnostic process for that particular person, they probably know better than you whether or not they're autistic. Just believe us, please. Yeah, point number 4, trust us when we tell you we're autistic, and stop comparing us to that one kid you knew somewhere. I think we're on point number 5 now. Yeah, point number 5, and this is a big one. Don't light it up blue. Light It Up Blue was started by Autism Speaks, which is an organization that is primarily based in the US. It's pretty harmful for a variety of reasons, and falls into a lot of the traps I've mentioned in this video so far. It doesn't involve very many autistic people, for a long time didn't involve any. It supports harmful therapies and generally has a stereotypical and harmful view of autistic people. And in addition to being created by a harmful organization, Light It Up Blue is based on harmful stereotyping to begin with. The whole reason blue was picked as a color is because for a long time people believed that autism was more common in boys than girls, and blue was chosen to represent that. But today we know that it's more likely that autistic girls and women are underdiagnosed because of social stereotyping and the pressure, especially for autistic women, to mask or to hide the fact that they're autistic, even without knowing that that's what they're doing. So a lot of autistic girls and women get underdiagnosed, and Lighting It Up Blue just perpetuates that stigma and just encourages people to say, well, you can't be autistic, you're a girl, which is not helpful. So don't light it up blue. I've seen lots of other movements springing up. There's Red Instead, which is a big one, and it's just, don't go blue, go red instead. I've also seen Light It Up Gold, which was started by autistic people, and Tone It Down Taupe, which was created because red can be an overstimulating color for some people. Any one of those movements is better than Light It Up Blue. If you're looking for organizations to support instead of Autism Speaks, I highly recommend the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, ASAN. They're a great organization that's run by autistic people, and there's also I think Autistics United or something, that's the Canadian version. I don't know outside of North America, but I know those are some great ones. I've also heard the Autistic Women's Network is good as well. So just organizations that are created by autistic people. So point number 5, don't light it up blue, go red instead, or one of the other movements made by autistic people. Point number 6, stop subjecting us to abusive therapies. ABA is abuse. I will link an excellent article on it in the description. But basically stop trying to cure or convert autistic people into non-autistic people. ABA was created by the same guy who created conversion therapy based on the same principles. So if that's not enough to let you know that it's a bad idea, I don't know what to tell you, but also read the link in the description. Also, avoid things like I hate I have to say this, bleach enemas, and any other abusive and harmful methods to cure us. You can't cure us. The only cure is eugenics, which is also a bad idea and something that we should avoid. So point number whatever we're on now, stop subjecting us to abusive and harmful therapies in an attempt to cure us of something that we don't need to be cured of. Next point, please avoid the puzzle piece. I know some autistic people do have a connection to the puzzle piece, but in general the community is moving away from the puzzle piece and towards other symbols. The puzzle piece sort of perpetuates the idea that there's something missing, or there's a missing piece in autistic people, that we're not whole. And we are whole. We're whole, complete people. There's nothing missing. The puzzle also sort of perpetuates the idea that autistic people are mysterious and unknowable, which is also not true. We don't do things for no reason. We have reasons for the things that we do, and we'll tell you about them if you ask. You know, not everyone knows every detail of why they do everything, but that's true for non-autistic people as well. We're not more mysterious than everybody else. We're just under-researched because people spend more time trying to figure out how to fix us than just asking us why we do things. So, yeah. Instead of the puzzle piece, consider the neurodiversity symbol, which is the infinity sign, or other symbols that have been created recently, like Autistic cat, which is just adorable. So, yeah, next point, summary thing. Avoid the puzzle piece. Thank you. And another thing, please, if you're going to be an ally to autistic people, if you're going to support us, you've got to stop judging people for being weird in ways that are stereotypically autistic when you don't know the person's autistic. So what I mean by that is no one in high school bullied me specifically because I was autistic, because none of us, including myself, knew that at the time. But I was definitely still bullied for being autistic. I was bullied because I had weird interests and I got too excited about things, and I was awkward and didn't quite know how to interact with people. And none of those things were harmful, but people made fun of me for them because they're things that are easily targeted, and because, whether they knew it or not, they were associating those things with being worthy of mockery. And we've got to be careful about that. It's harmful to make fun of people for value-neutral traits, even if it doesn't coincide with an axis of oppression. So you still shouldn't make fun of people for things that aren't hurting anyone, because it's mean. But we should really also be careful of saying that we support autistic people and then turning around and making fun of people, real or fictional, for things that I was bullied in high school for. If you're going to make fun of a character, real or fictional, a fictional character or a real person, just ask yourself, what am I making fun of here? What's wrong with this trait? You know? Because I've seen that happen, and I would rather not see it happen. So yeah, don't make fun of people for traits that are associated with being autistic, and don't make fun of people for things that aren't harming anyone. Make fun of people for the things they're doing that actually suck, not for just being weird. Yeah. Next point. This is one of the biggest ones, I think, and something that will go a long way. And it's basically just a common slogan in the disability advocacy community. Nothing about us without us is for us. So if you're creating something that is meant to help autistic people, we should be involved. If your organization is claiming to help and support autistic people, but you don't have any autistic people working in your organization, you're probably doing it wrong. If you're trying to write an autistic character in a TV show, there should be autistic people involved in the writing and/or acting process. Nothing that's created about us that doesn't include our input is actually helping us. Nothing about us without us is for us. And I think just listening to the autistic community and working with us can go a long way. So hopefully these tips will help you to do that. And with that in mind, I hope everyone has a good April. Thanks.